All right. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. All right, members of council and members of the staff, members of the public that are joining us here in our council chambers. It is just after 5:30, so council is going to pick up on our agenda for today's date, the 25th of September, 2023. Council did meet in camera, and we've now returned from our in-camera session, so we will pick up our agenda. But prior to that, I would like to read our land acknowledgement. I'd like to begin our meeting by recognizing the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples of Canada as traditional stewards and caretakers of the land. And we acknowledge that Clearview Township is located within the boundaries of Treaty 18, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Teotihuacan, and the Wendat, and is the home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples as part of an intricate nationhood that reaches across Turtle Island. At this time of truth and reconciliation, we welcome the opportunity to work together towards new understandings and new relationships and ask the Creator for guidance in all that we do. Again, it's always my pleasure to speak the land acknowledgement. I do it voluntarily as the mayor of Clearview Township. It's my honor and privilege to do so. Council is, first of all, and many members of our staff are wearing orange tonight to acknowledge that at the end of this week, we will be recognizing the Truth and Reconciliation date of the 29th, and the 30th, which are very important dates to the Indigenous communities across Canada. And so we wanted to show our support for that by wearing these T-shirts. And so I appreciate our staff all participating in that, as well as all members of council. So we're wearing the beautiful orange shirts here tonight. If you don't know what the orange shirt story is, please look it up on the internet. It's actually quite fascinating. All right. Members of council, we'll move on in our agenda to item number 2, which is approval of the agenda. So recommendation be it resolved that council of the Township of Clearview hereby approve the agenda dated September 25th, 2023 as presented. I'll look for a mover. Councillor Deneen, Councillor Walker, thank you. Any questions on the agenda? Seeing none, I'll call a motion. All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you very much. Disclosure, pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Does anybody have any disclosures on this portion of our council meeting? Seeing none. All right. Council has, we have our public participation period. There are members in the audience here with us. I just wanted to confirm before we go further to our deputy clerk. Did we receive any electronic participations? We did not receive any electronic participations. Okay. So that way we will go directly to the public participation. I'll read the script here, and then we'll get started. Be advised that comments and views expressed under public participation period are not the views of Clearview Township Council or the administration. Public participation is limited to 15 minutes. Each person is limited to 5 minutes. Questions or comments are to be directed to the mayor, and questions shall not refer to personnel matters, litigation, potential litigation, or planning matters that have already had a public meeting or any item considered confidential. So we'll begin. Our podium is open, and does anyone from the public wish to come forward for public participation period? Hi, come right ahead. Again, with the wrong glasses on, I think that's Jim. Looks like Jim. You know, just so you know, I can see about to Phyllis and the other side of Paul. Oh, there he is. There's Robert. The rest of you are just kind of a blur, but I'm going to change my glasses so that I can participate and have a conversation.
Right. We're together.
That's how it works. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. My name is Jim Campbell from Duntroon. Hello, Mayor Measures, Deputy Mayor Van Stavern, Councillors Deneen, MacArthur, Broderick, Walker, and Boleen. We thank you for this opportunity to speak briefly to the strategic plan report being presented by CIO Ferguson and consultant Peter Dunbar tonight. I am here on behalf of the Clearview Sustainability Network, a recently formed loose collection of concerned Clearview citizens. Quote, the Clearview Sustainability Network is an inclusive and optimistic citizen-led group bringing together diverse members of our community to help our local government adapt and evolve in the face of a changing climate. Together, we can build a more resilient and vibrant future for Clearview. Everyone is welcome. And I think the key word there is help. That's very much what this group of citizens wants to do. Everything we can to help staff and council in the challenges that we foresee ahead. Our group only recently came together, and our initial impetus was ensuring that the strategic plan included a climate lens. As this council voted unanimously in favor of last year as part of the climate crisis declaration. The original motion noted in its last line, quote, include the climate emergency in the upcoming strategic plan review such that climate implications and adaptations will be considered in all future staff reports through the use of a climate lens. We would today like to present to you our strategic plan climate lens request letter from Clearview residents and taxpayers with 160 signatories, which we can provide to people. But if I read the body of the letter, it's addressed to Mr. Dunbar and Mr. Ferguson, and who will present to council. We are writing to respectfully ask that you ensure that the renewed strategic plan include the use of a climate lens, as last year's unanimously approved council decision directed. To make our township as sustainable and resilient as possible, it is incumbent upon us to do all we can to minimize extreme weather effects through strong mitigation efforts, as well as to be prepared as possible with future ready adaptation measures for our changing climate. Incorporating a climate lens in Clearview's township strategic plan would be an excellent start in our efforts by ensuring all of our future municipal decisions take climate considerations into account, including both greenhouse gas reduction strategies and resilient adaptation measures. Respectively signed by 160 Clearview residents and taxpayers. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jim.
Any questions or?
It's question period. You can ask questions of us.
No questions. Just like to present this information.
All right.
To you and I don't know, Suzanne, has it been presented to Mr. Dunbar and CAO Ferguson? It has. Okay.
So you've already distributed your points to the gentleman you mentioned?
I believe so. I just got here. So
okay.
I'm catching up. Yeah, we're good. Okay.
Thank you, Jim. Always good to see you. Are there other members of the public that wish to come forward and speak during public participation period? Going twice? Going 3 times? Okay. Nobody else? All right. Well, it's wonderful to have public participation. As always, thank you very much for coming. All right, members of council, we have no public meetings, but we do have a deputation. So deputation, the Clearview Township Strategic Plan update. Peter Dunbar is here. Peter, we're going to ask you to step to the microphone, and then the CAO will introduce you and we can talk briefly about that. Nice to see you, Peter. Mr. CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a problem with my mic coming on.
We got her working. Good.
Yeah, so everybody, I think, is familiar with Peter Dunbar. He's been out at 5 community meetings. He's met with numerous people in the community and has basically asked people what they feel about the community, what is needed, what would they like to see. We have not sanitized anything. The full information is coming in. You'll see in our reports, everyone's comments are there. And Mr. Dunbar is going to speak a little bit about that, about the process of handing over the strategic work that he's done with the community. It'll be handed over to us. Council is already scheduled a workshop so that we can take the information and we're going to determine the priorities, try to categorize everything so each fits into a category of where the municipality is going. At that point, it'll be put back towards staff to come up with the initiatives based on those categories. And some stuff we've already started to work on, and we'll be making sure that people see that. With the process, we're also going to be talking to council about the public dashboard process that we're going to create. So as a part of the of having the priorities identified and then worked on is also to see that they're benchmarked and measured. So we're going to have a process in place for that. We haven't chosen the platform that we're going to use. That's where I'm discussing with a couple of other senior managers on different platforms, but we'll be going back to council to discuss the best platform that we can put on our webpage so that we can update things on a regular basis. And it's something easy for our residents to go and click on to see where the initiatives are. If there's an interest that they have in one or particular of the initiatives, they'll be able to see that. And we'll be able to do that on a regular basis. So that's where it will go after today. But the fine work that Peter and his team has done for us, he's here to present tonight. So without further ado, your worship, I would suggest, Peter.
Go right ahead, sir.
Again, John, your worship, councillors, audience members, and viewing members. It is really an exciting moment for me to be part and parcel of this project. I've lived in Duntruin for the past 25 years and in this region for the past 40 plus years. We'll just leave it at that. It's been a long time and it's been a great time. I've often told my many visiting friends that this is the best place to live in the world, and it still is. The main focus that I wanted to bring to the table was to go out and shake the trees and drill down and find out what Joe and Jill Public thought. So the focus of our campaign was, the first slide is the surveys, the little postcards that had some historic memorabilia in it. In other projects, those things have triggered good response from the public. And we got great response from the public. I might have annoyed a few people by putting the little postcards on their windows in the food lands or the Tim Hortons or the other grocery stores or bars. That's okay. No one yelled at me, and quite often they did look twice, turn it over, and figure it out. The actual QR code that's on the back of the postcard was from a young New Lowell person who suggested it to me about 7 or 8 years ago. His mother and I had been working on several projects, and he said, you know what you got to do? You got to do the QR code to get more younger people hooked up into your questions. So that's the whole focus. So that was a great success, and I thank everybody for helping me plug that. It worked very well. The interview process is the first part of the drilling program. And to do that, I sat down with CAO Ferguson and I said, okay, here's the list of people that I think are key stakeholders. It was more than 30, but here's the ones I think. And with your blessing, I'll interview those people as ones we want to get a starting point from. The starting point was important because what it did is it started to establish what the questions were going to be raised in the focus group and also the questions that were going to go on to the survey. So this process is one step on top of next step on top of next step. So again, the focus is what did Joe and Jill want? And so I met an hour and a half and my colleague, Ron Mitchell from Duntruin, we went out and interviewed people for an hour, 2 hours, whatever it took to get them satisfied that they had made their input on what they felt was good, bad, and not. We took those notes and compiled them. My writer, who's been with me for about 25 years from New Lowell, we strategized and put that first interview report together, which is in the document, and it's called the interview report. The interview report gives you a look at that very early stage of our investigation of what we thought was going to be important down the road. As it turns out, a lot of times in these processes, right off the bat, you're starting to get a link, a hint, a notion of where you're going. So again, it didn't surprise us. The next step was the focus groups. And I got to tell you that it was great that council showed and staff showed such a sincere interest in being engaged, involved, and giving their input to this important step. This document's going to end up being a great tool, I believe, for you. It's not the only aspect. You still have the huge burden of democratic society, and you have to run as you've been elected to run. What I'm preparing for you is a basic scenario of what the public thought was important. The progress or the focus group process was kind of unique. It was 4 different stages in the room. CAO John would present his vision of things that he wanted to incorporate. Then I would put the people into 4 different groups. They would rotate every 15 to 20 minutes. And we had moderators at each of the tables recording all the thoughts. This collective intelligence, which is the only way to move forward in life, is to get more opinions and more points of views, more collaboration, and then make a decision, was all part of that focus group. So those focus group gave us lots of depth onto some of the important questions we were asking. And again, we wrote them down, and there's a report in your document that says focus group report. Again, what we did is try to strive to tell you what the issues were, what the meat and potatoes were, and what we felt was representative of the spectrum of comments. Now, in my reporting formats, I never take the extremes left or right. I try to find what the middle road is, because that's really how democracy works. It's what is the focus of all, not everyone, but most. Survey to the community. Thank you all for your participation. I know a lot of you helped driving these little postcards around and getting the surveys out. And just recently, another one of my colleagues, and I did say she was from Creemore. She wasn't. She's from Singhampton. So that makes a big difference when you say someone's from the wrong place. Oh. So anyways, after that, her process was to take, and there is an awful lot of documentation here. I don't want you to think you have to digest this quickly, because there's over 70 pages of public comment per question. They are anonymous as promised, but they are directly from those surveys. So you, as senior members of council or senior members of staff and council, you can read those comments. In public life, it's more often to get complaints than it is to get praise, but it's still good to read what people are saying. It's what they thought, it's what they think. That perception is their reality. So I think those 70 pages are long and intense to read and to digest, but they're worth over a week going through them and just catching the drift, because there is some common elements that keep on popping up. And I think our report shows you where those focuses are and where those commonalities are. By the way, if there's any questions as I'm going through this, throw your hand up. Final report. So again, this document is pretty big. And not that big means it's good, but there's a lot of reading here for you. This tool should be good to use for the next 10, 15 months, 20 months. Yes, that seems like a short shelf life, but in part of my presentation, you'll see what I suggest you always do is always invest time and energy in finding out what's current, what's happening, making sure that you're adjusting, reacting, reviewing all your decisions. And I know I spent 40 odd years doing the same process. It's difficult, it's hard. You all deserve bronze stars, but it is what it is. And so this is a tool that'll help you, I believe, make the best decisions you can as a common element, the Clearview Council. So the final report has the introduction. It has key strategic issues identified through public consultation. It has recommendations, appendices, and the 3 reports on our progress, plus community resource bank. It's the first time I've used this, but I came across many people in this community that surprised me and made me feel good that they had great integrity and intelligence and commitment to their goals. So I felt it was critical to make sure they got the exposure they deserved. So this is not my recommendations. This is from a group of people, but certainly I vetted this process, and I think it's excellent material to help council and the senior staff look to the future and figure out how they're going to make their decisions next. Next steps. John Ferguson has said there's going to be a workshop, or the mayor said there's going to be a workshop, and that's great, because I think there's many priorities established in this document. And that's the greatest difficulty in public life. There's always a lot of priorities, and it's on your shoulders to decide which ones get first, second, third, and fourth place. And sometimes it takes a couple of years to get these different priorities worked on and established, and your support and how you think you should move forward. But it's the best you can do, and that's what you have to do. It's just, that's the reality of this situation in Simcoe County. We have growth from Elmville, Ontario to Thornbury. Growth like we've never had before. I've been here for a long time, and it's never been like this. Collingwood and Wasaga Beach were fastest growing communities a couple of times back and forth over the years, but now the region is the fastest growing. It's dynamic, it's constant, and it's in our face. And if one thing came across to me while I met and interviewed and discussed, and I had some great conversations on my porch for hours and two, and mostly with tea and coffee, but the people were actually nervous and anxious about what's going to happen, because a lot of people live here and love living here, and they're concerned how it's going to evolve. So there's a lot of interest in the common element of people in this municipality who are anxious. And I think I could be a little bit anxious too, because it's a beautiful place to live, and I want to see it grow and prosper in the most positive angle it can. So the planning process should always be research, review, evaluate, enact, start over. And so John's familiar with this process. Already, John has made significant changes that we've discussed and worked on. I believe that's the way you have to always do public life. You have to keep on moving and reviewing and acting. And it's because it changes. It's like walking on quicksand. It's always moving. I told His Worship that being a council is like being on a ship. And the captain has a lot of responsibilities, and so does the crew. You have to know where the sandbars are, which way the current's flowing, which way is the wind going. All these things are adapting and changing all the time. And at the bottom of the line, the captain has to keep everybody safe. So there's lots of challenges you and the captain hold. And I wish you the best wishes in those responsibilities. They are heavy, but real. Next to the last one, thank you. So the feedback was great, 614. That's substantial. It's a very good. It gives you the quantitative numbers to make directional moves. Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council. Your constant support through the past 5 months has been fabulous. Your participation in the workshops, stellar. I've not done a review like this that had council participation like this. It's good to feel that you're the responsibility you share by being involved and hearing the stuff constantly. So congratulations. Thank you, John. John and I have developed a good relationship in the last 4 or 5 months, talking probably once, twice, 3, 4 times a week, just making sure we're always keeping what we think is the right course of action going. The future will be exciting, dynamic, and Clearview, which will demand compromise, collaboration, and commitment. And I'm sure this council is ready for that task. My project staff like It's like buying the 100-mile fruit and vegetables. My project staff is myself from Duntruan, Andy and Jan Hume from Stainer, Lynn Black from New Lowell, Ken Walker from Stainer, Susan Ailey from Singhampton, Ron Mitchell from Duntruan, Jake Arnott, Collingwood, Alex and Jordan Coe from Singhampton. So all the money you invested in this project basically went back to this municipality, and through the staff is almost 100% Clearview Whiteans. Questions, please.
We haven't come up with that analogy yet, or that language as to what a Clearview person is, but we'll get with that. Some linguistic person will figure that one out.
Yeah, it's a twister.
It's a twister indeed.
Yes. So, Your Worship, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Peter. Your report, I did read it all over the weekend, and well, it was very interesting reading and enlightening reading. And the enlightening part to me was that it reflected, as you just said, that the comments come from the public. We as counselors hear from public all the time in various positives or negatives or questions or actions. And we do our best as counselors and mayor to try to satisfy their questions. But it was really refreshing for me to be able to see some of those materials, some of those comments come back that were asked, not by me, but by other people. And so I really appreciate that very much. So I felt the process was very good. Now it's in the hands of council, and we'll see what happens with it. So I'm going to open the floor right now, see if there's any questions from our members.
I think it was engaging.
Yes.
And I think people felt good and satisfied with that level of democracy where they were allowed to say whatever they thought.
Sure.
And each comment would be taken with a grain of salt, because at the end of the day, as I would always tell people, if the council has a tremendous burden and responsibilities to move forward. As being a public service employee for 40 years, I know the difficulties of the week-to-week basis. So I think you're doing your best, and I congratulate you guys.
Well, thank you for that. Since we're on that topic, I just want to point out, the public engagement point. This council, the previous council to that have made it absolutely a point that public participation is a big part of our council meetings whenever we have a regular meeting. And as we saw tonight, we did have public participation. We only had one person, but that's okay, as long as we have public participation. And so we do encourage it from the previous terms and including this term. Excellent. Public participation. And you can always get a hold of us at council@clearview.ca, which attaches to all of our council emails. So, okay, that's enough about that. Let's see if there's some questions from our members of council, if they have any questions they'd like to ask. Paul, go right ahead.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Mr. Dunbar, I'll be honest, I've only gotten to about 25 out of 156 pages, which includes attachments, by the way. I have scanned a lot of the documents. Can you just speak quickly? I'm also as a counselor for the county of Simcoe. There's a lot of stuff, or some stuff that I've seen that I will say in the asks or the looks at are basically of higher institutions. In your strategic plan, did you filter some of that out, or did you look at any of that? How we can integrate some of the counties or the province or anything like that in this group?
Very perceptive, Mr. Van Severend. I think that the issues of collective regional responsibilities, collaboration is upon us. Because of this tremendous growth, I think it's stimulated almost the need in many areas to think larger than yourself. I'm not suggesting that we don't celebrate our individuality to the max. I think that's part of it, but I think there's a balance that needs to find a better solution to existing challenges we have before us. For instance, Severn and Tiny and Perry Sound and another municipality have basically the last 2 or 3 years not amalgamated, I'm not suggesting that, but they've gathered to try to get common threads of agreement on policy and processes and ways in which they want to guide the future of their location. So I think that may be a model coming down the road. So I don't know if I'm not avoiding your question, but I don't want to say that I think something's going to happen that I don't know about. I think the responsibilities, fire, ambulance, old age, health, many of these things transgress over larger regions. The tourism ministry about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, relined their provincial strategies to places of common interest. And so today, I believe we're in R7. And R7 has, I think, from Elmville to Meaford, that vicinity, that's seen as one tourism region because there's a lot of common elements of travel, transportation, accommodations, water, skiing, etc. So that's some of the influence I see. If you read your survey response, when we, because water capacity was a big issue around the whole entire municipality, it shows that there's a desire to have a larger look at resolution to that problem to a better capacity for the whole region. I think everybody is thinking the same thing. They need better capacities for both waste and fresh water.
I think you're hitting it on, because a lot of those topics I'm very sensitive to. Will say a lot of these things that I've read so far, we can go alone, but there's a lot of things that we have to look outside the area, whether it be with Simcoe County. One of the big topics, of course, right now is affordable housing, attainable housing, all the different terminology. And we did read a lot of that in it, or the first little bit. And we do need help from outside, because a lot of this stuff is not in our bailiwick or abilities, but how do we draw, or how do we track the attention to bring it into our community, sort of thing. So we've got, we got our work cut out for us. And I mean, Simcoe County is a strong member of this community with what you mentioned about ambulance and seniors housing and stuff, but we're going to be having to go even higher for some of the stuff we need now. So anyways, thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Are there other members of council who have any questions they would like to ask? Looking around the table. Okay, allow me to ask a couple of points or get some clarification from you, Mr. Dunbar. First of all, I want to speak about the previous plans. Your comments indicate that the citizens, first of all, didn't really know much about the current plan, the 2017 to 22 plan. They didn't see it. They didn't know about it. That's the responses that were generally there. And one of the comments that you wrote was that the current plan doesn't have any teeth. So it didn't have any sort of action items in it that were attainable or measurable. And so I just want to state, as a member of council who was part of that development of that, it was actually designed that way because what we were doing was replacing the plan prior to that. The plan, which was the very first Clearview strategic plan, was developed 2007, 2008, which had a whole lot of aspirational motherhood statements about what a wonderful place we are with a lot of heritage. And it left the reader and the council and the staff at the time kind of wondering, well, what does the plan really do? What does it do? It's not really important for us. Is it really? Is this just sort of a check the box system? That's what we were doing when we first did this in 2007, 2008. And the next version, we worked on that with workshops with many members of staff, and members of the public participated in that, and developed the 2017-22 document. And that document clearly did have some identified processes that needed to be addressed. We gave it the short-term, long-term, and mid-term sort of marking as to what our expectations were, that this plan would be successful. But one of the key things that I think was missed, I haven't read it, all of the comments, Mr. Dunbar, but one of the points I think that was missed was that this particular plan, when it was delivered by our CAO at the time and to the council and the staff and the administration at the time, made very clear that every report that comes from our staff to this council will have a reference to something in the strategic plan that serves the betterment of the community. So every report we see tonight in our council agenda has a highlight in it, something that's relevant to the strategic plan. That procedure wasn't there prior to 2017. So the issue is that the public's wishes are now clearly in front of the staff when they write reports. They have to look at the 5 pillars and see how their comments and their requests and their report fits within the 5 pillars. And then they acknowledge that. And that keeps the staff on the targets of what the public want. That's the purpose for the 2017-22 strat plan. And I think that it's worked. I think that it's been successful. The staff certainly are aware of it. The councillors were certainly asked to read it. This current council was asked to read that strategic plan as well. And it is available for the public on our website. So it's kind of awkward because our website has a lot of things on it. And what are the things that are really important that you should read? I would suggest our human resources manager is here right now. I'm pretty sure that every new hire that gets hired at Clearview Township has the strategic plan referenced in their onboarding information. So I think that the point of the strategic plan is that it is really a tool to help the staff understand what the wishes are of the public. And I believe this plan that we're about to initiate through the workshop will deliver even further details of what the public are looking for in this community. And so that's why my frustration level when COVID hit was that I wanted to get to this plan, and we really wanted to get to it before 2022. And COVID hit and everything was stopped. And it took a long time for us to get back to getting to where we are. You know, even getting to the new CAO to hire a person to do the job and bring this. I'm very, very grateful that council supported moving us forward in this. So the comment about the strategic plan not being well read or didn't have any teeth was actually designed that way, designed to serve the needs of council, to get the staff engaged with what Clearview is supposed to be. This next plan is the one will definitely have some teeth. It will have measurables in it. I accept council will understand that when we create that. And I'm sure in our workshop, we'll discuss it even more, but that's my hope and aspiration and goals for what this plan is going to look like, Peter. Do you have any comments on that before I bring in another issue? Go ahead.
Your worship, we all went through turbulent, challenging times for those 2 years. And your council document also went through that turbulence. The reality is now that you have a community response to a communication desire. And so it's now not just a single way of communicating. And I think that's one of the challenges of modern business in this society is things are changing and you have to be pretty quick and adaptable. But if there's one question that comes back in the survey, how would you like to be updated? Like I can't imagine 5 years ago, someone saying, I want to be updated by YouTube, but that's a reality. I mean, I think I watch YouTube every morning to catch up on news at my choice of and my station that I want to pick to get that information served to me. So there is specific reference to 4 or 5 different ways that the public think they'd like to have a response to or by council. So yes, your HR director will have to come up with some marvelous magic to satisfy all those desires. But I think it was critical for me to identify what they were looking for. So now you can tailor and make it to your best abilities to their request. That's my answer, sir.
That's a good response, and I appreciate that. I'm glad that council is hearing this because this is certainly going to be a part of our workshop discussions. So I appreciate your comments on that. And you're right. 5 years ago, did we think that we would, have a single newspaper available in this entire region? And now today we have one newspaper available in this entire region. So it's shocking to think how quickly things change. One of your quick comments you just said there was to be, adaptable and quick to make changes. That's the problem with municipal government. Municipal government operates slowly. We need to change the way municipal government operates quicker, to provide services quicker and provide reaction and answers quicker. And that's a real challenge just in the way whole municipal governments work. And that's not just this municipality, it's all municipalities in Ontario. The statutory regulations slow us down. They really do. And so we're doing our best to get them caught up as best we can. And I think we got a great staff and a great council that lead that point. So another point.
Bravo.
The other thing I want to mention is part of your review, and I was honestly surprised to hear that many members of the public felt that they needed to highlight more individual communities rather than the whole community of Clearview, that they wanted to have more attention and autonomy to individual areas of our municipality. So, I found that difficult for me, mainly because, during this past election, one of the nights that was held at the community center, where all members who were running for office attended an all candidates meeting, and many questions were put to the entire table. And Sean Davidson, I believe, was the MC, and he was asking various questions. And one of them was, do you support promoting Clearview or promoting your individual towns? Something to that effect. I have to go look it up exactly what he asked, but it's something to the effect there. Do you believe in Clearview or do you believe in the individual communities? And every single candidate, not just the ones that were elected, but all of them said they support Clearview Township, all of them. And we want to, and some highlighted that we want to highlight the wonderful uniqueness of our individual communities that we have. But the comments from every single person was that they support Clearview is the community. And I was honestly really touched by that, because remember, I was acclaimed at this point, and I was just feeling really blessed that there's going to be a huge, change in the way Clearview Council operates by the fact that we're going to bring forward members that speak for Clearview. And then I get comments come back in this interesting survey that popped out, and I read that and went, that's just odd, because that's the opposite message that was coming from all the members who put their name forward. So what do you think of that, Peter?
Your worship, I was there that night.
Oh, good.
With my colleague, Ron Mitchell.
Oh, good.
So we were participating in reviewing who was running and why. And so, yes, in the context that I wrote that part, it was that the team has to be the overriding support mechanism to make this municipality run well. So the team takes all, but we suggested that there be ways of balancing the opportunity for New Lowell to talk about its wonderful soccer fields and baseball diamonds, and for Creemore to talk about the downtown, whatever they want to talk about, and for Singhampton. So it's not a confusing misdirection. We think that the team is number one, and that's how you have to play this municipal game to have any success. You have to, follow the rules and guidance and agree on a common route. But there is ways in which you can celebrate. And I thought about that comment a little earlier, and I think if council members want to see a similar success story, go and check out Prince Edward County.
Yep.
Prince Edward County has a similar scenario as we do, not the growth that we have, no one has that, but they have a similar influx of urban center dwellers going out into the country and then coming back and forth. So several years ago, I went there and I presented probably 6 different seminars on developing trail connectivity. And that's not the reason they got real good, but it was one of the reasons. They also celebrated the farm community. They celebrated small markets, a foodie industry, and they really pumped the hospitality, not through hotels and motels, but through bed and breakfast and the nature of that. So their celebration is come and enjoy our country air. And that's what I'm suggesting. We reflect that type of progress where we take the best we have to offer and we put it together in a package that is driven by the center, which is this council, but that you could celebrate different aspects of going mountain bike riding up on the Duntruin escarpment. I mean, it is a real business now.
Yes.
And bikes, as annoying they can be at times, are a real business now. So there is fluxes and changes occurring. And so it's what we need to do is try to grab hold of the least confrontational methods to get successes from those things. And there are, because as you know, I have a bed and breakfast, and the people that go to the Bruce Trail from around the world is remarkable.
Sure.
So we're known.
Yeah.
We just have some limitations on capacity to house visitors.
Mhm. Well, that certainly it falls into the economic development side of this equation. So I'm glad to hear you bring that up.
And in one of the community bank resource documents, there is an article about creative ways in which you can incorporate that type of flexibility.
Mhm.
So I just asked council to read that, and I'm not going away. I'll still be living in Duntruin a year from now. So if councilors want to challenge any of those issues or discuss any of these things, I'm always available.
All right. council@clearview.ca anytime. Okay. Listen, thank you very much, Peter. That's all I really want to talk about right now. I'll give you a call if I have any other great revelations that come to mind. I'll look again to my members of council if you got anything you want to ask. All right. I'll go to the CAO. Mr. CAO.
Yeah, thank you, Peter and your worship. I just wanted to just give a little bit of a perspective of why we engage the way that we do. And the strategic plan will become a policy document. And policy, it gets created by citizens from all over your community, whether they're business owners or citizens, whether they're retired or they're in school. They feel a certain way about their community and they're going to express it. It's often referred to as just simply rhetoric. But that rhetoric, when it's brought together and it's channeled in a way that the elected officials see that that rhetoric is enough to determine action, then that then becomes policy, basically, is how it works. And that's how it's worked over a long period of time. Sometimes it moves quickly, sometimes it moves slowly, just depending on, I guess, how complicated or complex the issue is. And we certainly have some in front of us. But what I did briefly, and I was just going to share this with council, I just made some copies of it, and I certainly share it with people. It's nothing groundbreaking, other than I just took the point forms of the report, and I just wanted to pass on just generally for the different processes that were used, what came in as the final points. So the next step is what I mentioned earlier about having a workshop with council, and it's really about establishing the vision and the mission. And for having council go and listen to the public and be there to hear that, that was a key piece for them to help establish their vision for the community. The mission then becomes the priorities that leads you to that vision. So that's one of the first things that we'll be talking about. And actually, that was one of the first things that came in the report, was develop a vision and a mission, and clearly define and measure targets, forward-thinking planning for the future. Residents want frequent, transparent information and two-way communication. Identify opportunities and challenges. That came in under the first group of recommendations. The second priority setting was benchmarking, communicate to the public, open to amendments so that it's a working document going forward. Key issues: affordable housing, prioritize climate change in the environment, support and grow our core business. And there's a list of things, and they're on page 10 in the report. I didn't list them all. Broader township identity. Again, that goes back to Clearview Township and of the smaller communities, and how do we bring that together? Safe biking, improve quality of visitor experience. So when someone comes to the community, whether they're here for a day or a few days, what are they enjoying about our community? How can we improve that? Focus groups, improve use of existing lands, building permits and simplify the permit process, increase affordable housing supply in existing settlement areas, support farmers, and protect farmland. Transportation, road speed, volume, safety, safe multi-use roads, road maintenance, and mass transit. Next one was ranking priorities. Imagine Clearview Township in 2035, Appendix B, page 9. Future priorities and directives, Appendix C, page 4. 86% felt municipalities should address promoting cycling safety and signing preferred cyclist routes. That was Appendix C. I forgot the page number. And then the Appendix C survey comments, which went on Appendix C, I think from page 24 to 99. And there are a slew of comments. I haven't gone through them all, but I've gone through a lot. And then last and interesting, this really came out of the fact that the community, if we solve the infrastructure problem, which I think we will, and the housing issue is really an infrastructure issue, there'll be more houses on the market. But with that is growth. And we have to plan for growth. So we probably will have to look at a growth strategy in the near future as well. But ultimately, this is really the high level pieces. There's a lot of stuff that's written in this document. And the report, my report, is in the council package. It's on the webpage. And it speaks to, I think, what a lot of citizens will want to hear from us and where we're going. And so if you have a chance to take a look at that, please do. And ultimately, we're going to get ready for our workshop session where we'll establish the priorities, and then all of our senior managers, our managers and our staff, we're going to break off into departmental groups. We're going to look at the priorities and we're going to establish initiatives, and then we're going to assign responsible people. We won't be saying who's doing what. That's something that we can't do. We might say the position, but ultimately we want this organization to be moving in these directions. A municipality has to go off in various directions, but the priorities can have us working on similar directions at different times when they can fit it in and move the community forward in those areas. So that's really the objective behind this. So what we're doing is we're going to be operationalizing the priorities. That's the simple piece. It's going to be part of our business. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much, John. Peter, I'm going to put it out one more time. Does anybody have any questions? Because at this point, I'm going to call us to council to bring forward the recommendation, and we'll deal with it right now. All right. Do you have any further questions? Pete, thanks very much.
Thank you, Your Worship. And John, thank you and your staff. It was a pleasure working with him.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Dunbar. Council, we're going to move to CAO 004 2023. That's under Section 12. It's the last item, but I thought we'd bring it forward right now since we're hot on the topic. All right. So John Ferguson, you want to prepare any comments? You want to stay there? I'll read this recommendation. I'll look for a mover and seconder, and then we'll go back to Mr. Ferguson. This is CAO's report, ZAE 004 2023, the Clearview Township Strategic Plan Update Recommendation. Be it resolved. The Council of the Township Clearview hereby one, receive report CAO 004 2023, the Clearview Township Strategic Plan Update dated September 25, 2023. And item 2, the council direct the CAO to work with the mayor to schedule a council workshop to identify strategic plan priorities to be recommended for approval at a regular meeting of council, which would be in the future. Can I have a mover and seconder? Mr. Deputy Mayor, and seconded by Mr. Walker. Thank you so much. John, do you have anything you want to add? We'll go to council after that.
Just some high-level pieces. Basically, just gave a brief background of us coming together, seeking Peter's assistance with the strategic planning process, and then also taking a look at all the more benefits that are in the community, recognize the strengths we have, because we were using 5 capitals as the mix, which was rapid capital, social, manufacturing, and financial capital. And that's, you look at this as a local lens for your community, to improve local economics, local social community, which is really the goal behind it. So all the different volunteer groups and different agencies that we have working in the community all lend itself to this support, bringing people together in the community.
but I just wanted to capture a piece of that. It's going to be important for us going forward. The second part is really related to environmental stewardship and economics and understanding how all these pieces come together. If you take a look at housing and the cost of housing, for example, there's so many systems that impact that. And I mean a slew of systems that impact the price of housing. That how do you unpack that and really try to improve it? It's considered a complex problem. It is. So how do we do that? Work in a way that, for example, if we want to make sure that we still provide, for example, we need the material to build houses. We need the expertise in town in order to build houses. We need employees to build a house. We need all these pieces to come together. So we have to focus on lifting our community in a variety of areas so we can continue to do this. And we have to recognize all the businesses and resources that we have that go to this. Use it in a responsible way. And that's how our community can move forward. So on the environmental aspect of it, there's a lot of work that we have to do. And I think there's a lot of things that we have to get ourselves ready for. I think we have to be more prepared for sudden weather events. And I think we have to help our citizens and families understand what's available to them in the events. We've seen in Canada where the fires created certain problems in certain areas. And once it's at people in the community, how do you come back from them? You've lost your local economics, you've lost your local social presence. How do you rebuild that? Furthermore, how do you make yourself resilient enough to do that? So those are the things that we want to work on with people. We want to try to keep a local focus, keep it affordable for this municipality. And then we'll find solutions that make sense and that we can afford. And if we can't afford it, what do we do to go get assistance? For example, right now, infrastructure is not affordable. That's a problem. It's a severe problem. So we need help from the provincial and federal government in order to move forward. We might even have to share in our systems with other municipalities as we do right now. For example, some of our sewer actually goes to the Sauk Beach. And we have the opportunity to send more further agreements. So we have these relationships that will help with the infrastructure. So these are the solutions that we have. And then modernization. We're going to have to figure out ways to use technology to improve saving energy, keeping our costs in. An opportunity not only to do that, but to create economics in the community so that we're attracting people that can live here and use those to their work. And they haven't done this. This is the problem for a lot of people. One of the other things I want to touch on was that because we live in what's referred to as a social democracy, in essence, we're a capitalist country, but we have a social net. That's how our country is set up. And because of that, we all have rights. We all have obligations. We all have to pay our taxes. We should all be looking out for our neighbors, looking out for our kids. We have obligations to put our civic duty at a higher level so that we do the right things for our people. And that's the kind of approach that we want to instill in people to make our community better. And then we can protect ourselves, be more resilient, adapt changes, and make sure that we have a strong local economy. One of the other things that stems from comments that we made here today, I have recommended that we discuss on the national. I know that discussion with the mayor and some other councilors, they're all in favor of this. At the end of the day, that still has to go to council. We voted on the whole process. It's a council decision. But I want to say that this council wasn't at every meeting. They listened to citizens, they asked questions, they paid attention. And this council has strong councilors. They have their own opinions. They are flexible. And to show them that, I've seen it demonstrated around this table. If they get information that's valuable to them, that makes them change their mind, they'll change their mind. Worthy to know how this council presents some information to these people, and it comes to violence too.
All right. Am I being heard? Sorry, probably not. Anyway, I just wanted to pass this along, that this is important. I was hired to put this through. So it's important that we work together on this. And I think this council is very solid. They're going to give clear direction on where we're going to go. And it'll be up to us, my fellow senior managers, with the fellow staff that we have, and work together to put this thing moving forward. So those are my comments on my report.
All right. Well, thank you very much, John. Mr. CAO, significant amount of work to get to this point. I fear that the significant amount of work is still in front of us. And I really see that this council is ready to take this on, to spend some time and really consider some of these important questions that are being put to us. Members of council, do you have any questions to Mr. Ferguson? Okay. Excellent. Members of council, you've got a motion in front of you. We have a mover and seconder. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? That would be unanimous. Thank you so much. All right. Well, we'll see you all at the workshop. Come with your pencils and erasers to erase, and maybe we'll probably decide that about halfway through the first one. All right, guys. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Dunbar, again for hanging in there with us, and members of the public. Looks like we're clearing out the audience for the crew here, but nice to see you all. Council is going to return. Thank you, sir. We're going to return to our regular agenda. So we're going to move on with item number 7, which is approval of our council meeting minutes. To our council meeting minutes. Recommendation be it resolved, the council of Township of Clearview hereby approve the minutes of the September 11, 2023 regular meeting as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder? Ms. Deneen, seconded by Mr. Beelan. Thank you. Any questions on the approval of minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? That carries unanimous. I'm going to change my glasses so I can read here a little bit better. Thank you. Okay, business arising from the minutes, if any. Seeing none. Communications from the mayor. Members of council, as I said earlier, we did meet in camera session. So I have a few items here to bring forward. These will all require movers and seconders. These are motions that come from our in-camera session. So we'll start with that. Madam Clerk, you ready? Okay. The first item was a property standards update and annual review of orders issued. There is a companion report to the open session agenda with the recommendation for council to receive for information. So it is simply just a motion to receive the report for information. Can I have a mover and seconder? Mr. Walker, Mr. Beelan, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, thank you, that carries. Property acquisition, an easement, recommendation, be it resolved that council with the Township of Clearview hereby direct the Director of Public Works to work with applicable landowners on acquiring an easement across lands for the East Creemore Drain. I have a mover and seconder on that. Mr. MacArthur, Mr. Broderick, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? It carries unanimous. Thank you. A land sale request. Recommendation, be it resolved that council of the Township of Clearview hereby direct staff to act in accordance with the direction provided in closed session regarding the land sale request for Church Street, Nottawasaga Road Allowance. Can I have a mover and seconder on that? Mr. Walker, seconded by Mr. MacArthur. Thank you. Is any questions on that? No. Seeing none. All in favor? All in favor? Any opposed? Oh, you're not voting? Okay, that's fine. Yeah, let's return here before we could. I did not say anything further than that. Was there any conflicts on this that we needed to deal with, Madam Clerk?
If those members of council wish to declare a conflict on these open session motions, they may do so.
Just reminding councils that I cannot give you advice and neither can the clerk. Yes, ma'am?
I recused myself from the last decision, so
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And I excuse myself from the last because of
Okay.
conflict of interest.
All right. Madam Clerk, please record that Councillor Beelan, Councillor Deneen have removed themselves from this discussion as per a conflict of interest declared during in camera. Okay. Council, comfortable? I'll read the recommendation again. Recommendation be it resolved, the Council of Township of Clearview hereby direct staff to act in accordance with the direction provided in closed session regarding the land sale request for Church Street and Ottawasaga Road allowance. Can I have a mover and seconder? Mr. Broderick, Mr. MacArthur. Thank you. Anything else? All in favor? That carries with members present. All right. And negotiations. Council, recommendation be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby direct the CIO to act in accordance with the direction provided in closed session regarding the newspaper advertising and distribution negotiations. Can I have a mover and seconder on that? Mr. Broderick, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Thank you, sir. Any questions on that? I'll call a motion. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, so we've covered 9.1. Thank you for your assistance, Madam Clerk, for that. It's really great that you're able to write those up after that meeting. Good job. Communications from the mayor. I have very little to report other than I'll speak about it in our ward reports that it was a fantastic weekend for the Great Northern Exhibition. What a great weekend it was for sure. And then county council reports. I can mention that the deputy mayor and I are attending county council tomorrow, a pretty full agenda, joint session with other members of the county as well. So we're looking forward to that. Deputy Mayor, do you have anything you want to add in regards to county council reports?
The only thing I wish to add right now is I did attend on behalf of the county as well as with this community to the OFA meeting
Yes.
on September 12th. There's a lot going on as far as changes with, especially with the provincial government's turnabout with the green belt and stuff, and also other direction within Simcoe County. So not saying that I was there to represent all the seats the hats I wear for that direction, and as basically a lot of our last meeting was strictly I won't say redundant stuff, but stuff for we'll be starting into some meat and potatoes. We are starting to hit the budget, and we will be starting as well as at this table with our budget. And I can tell you, council is going to county council is into not a battle, but it's a lot of people are very concerned about expenses coming forward, and we'll be having to do a lot of arm wrestling, as we will have to do within this community as well. So thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. I look forward to tomorrow's meeting, and yes, the budget will be on our minds and a big workbook will be presented to us. All right. Listen, council, we're going to go right to ward reports. If there's nothing further from county, I don't think so. So Mr. Broderick, you're up first this week, I believe. Mr. Walker agrees. You're up first.
Thank you, Your Worship. September the 12th, I attended the Clearview Chamber of Commerce executive meeting. On the 15th, the grand reopening of Lafreniere Auto's new facilities. It was very, very well attended, and actually beautiful new facility. September the 16th, partook in the Clearview Libraries tour. And the 19th, attended the Clearview Library Board meeting. Also on the 19th, attended the Youth Center open house. And again, on the 19th, attended the Clearview Chamber of Commerce regular meeting. And this past weekend, September 22nd to 24th, worked with Central Ontario ATV Club to facilitate parking at the GNE. It was a really busy weekend. The weather was really cooperative. It was sunny and dry all weekend. I can't remember when the last year that happened. Sunday, we not only filled every available parking space on the GNE ground lots, but also filled the overflow parking generously made available by a neighboring farm. And like there might have been 15, maybe 20 spots left in that field. Like it was full. And yeah, that brings me up to date.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you for the work you did parking. There was an awful lot of cars up there. And so to you and all the other volunteers that worked on that, that's a terrific job.
We had an awesome crew and it really
Great
kept
crew.
them hopping.
It was impressive, I have to say. Mr. MacArthur.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to carry on the G&E theme. My wife was there. I think I added up 38 hours in the 3 days. So she's recovering this week, but we're guesstimating well over 10,000 people in attendance on the weekend. So just a super success. Going back to the opening of the Small Halls events with Julian Taylor and the Station on the Green. It was a great success and everybody had a great night and made a bit of money for our station, which we're hoping to have wish list for many improvements in the next few years. Last Saturday, I attended the Clearview Kins had a baseball tournament in Creamore, raising money for the Addiction Center in Collingwood. I think they had 8 or 9 baseball teams out and everybody was having a great time. They even let me try to hit a ball, which was not much of a success, but it did get out of the infield. And on a final note, just as we got farmers on this council, it's harvest season with this great weather is ramping up big time, and just like everybody to be careful and respect slow moving vehicles on the roads for the next probably 6 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Deputy Mayor, would you like to go now?
Sure, thank you. As was mentioned previously, we a good number of our councillors were at the Lafreniere Open House, and congratulations to them. We did the official ribbon cutting, and His Worship did give us a speech, gave us a nice speech at that. As well, a good group was at the youth center, as myself at 4 o'clock on the 19th. What an amazing place! If people haven't been to the youth center, those kids, they fit together. It was beautiful to see, and we also had representation from 3 different organizations to help facilitate their services there. So that was nice to see the outreach and the members of council that were there. September 22nd, we had an NVCA meeting. Nothing too glamorous there, but it's like everything else. We are hammering as a representative for NVCA. My biggest push is on service, and our service as it relates to our constituents as far as planning applications and stuff. So we'll do some arm wrestling and negotiating, and part of it is also around the budget, what we can do to afford to give better service, because it all comes at a cost. As everybody may or may not be aware, we just finished a project at the Carruthers Park in Avening, and I congratulate Fred Dobbs and his group for doing the work. They spent a fair bit of time trying to save this erosion in the banks down there, and a thank you to Walker Aggregates, who actually donated some of the material in there. So it was nice. We now have a community partner that when we have projects, I've let other groups know, Walker's has got their hand up to say, hey, we will help you if we can help the organization. So please keep that in mind. This past Friday, I sat 7 hours on a tractor helping people negotiate the front field and the back field. I did take a bit of time off to go see the dignitaries presenting, as His Worship was there in his fine form. He'll tell you a bit more about that, but it's, as everybody said, it was a really successful event. This past Saturday, I had the opportunity to attend the Bethel Union Cemetery to present for the Silver Shoe Historical Society. For those who don't know what that is, for the counselors, you remember we were on our bus trip several months ago, and we drove by, and the mayor introduced us or showed us that cemetery. That's a cemetery where a lot of the Black people who came over and the Underground Railroad are buried, because they went into Oro and then they came back to this area. And there was some strong representation. So it was a really neat presentation. I spoke on behalf of the township, and Janie Cooper Wilson, who is the main ringleader there, will say, was so complimentary Sasha and to Amanda and the people who have helped from this council, from this, I won't say the council, from the staff and the council, and what they've done for that. And it was really neat to see the people in our community who are still tied to that cemetery. So it's really good to see. And other than that, what Doug said, tomorrow we're at Midhurst at Simcoe County, and we'll see what happens there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for representing us at Bethel Cemetery. Very important, and I appreciate you doing that. Thank you, sir. Phyllis, Denise, how are you doing?
Thank you. Good, thanks. Yeah, the G&E, wow. That
Wow.
was, if the traffic on Sunday was any indication, I'm sure it was a record year for attendance. And as Councillor Broderick mentioned, they told me this morning they had to open the second parking lot up. I unfortunately was in a lineup of cars trying to get there, and the car didn't cooperate. So we just kind of turned around, went back home. But my youngest one of the antique tractor pulls in his.
Oh, cool.
class
Oh, great.
came in first. So that was great. And congratulations to Mike Curry on his lifetime membership award from the Agricultural Society and 55 years of volunteerism. And the mayor was there in the opening ceremonies to present him with that. And he came out, I was working on the admissions, and he was just so excited and pleased. He was beaming from ear to ear. It was great to see. Getting back to the Small Halls Festival, the Nottawa event, dinner and dance is sold out.
Is it?
There is tickets still for the dance itself with Not Ottawa. That starts at 8:30. So there are still dance tickets available, but the dinner and dance portion is sold out. Yeah, that's about it. I just remember last year cleaning up this Monday morning in the rain, and it was pouring. So yes, it was a lovely weekend for the fair. Thank you.
Well done. And thank you for volunteering at the fair, along with many people who volunteered at the fair. Good for you. Marty, how are you doing there, Mr. Beelan?
Thank you, Your Worship. Doing good. September 21st, I attended the evening hall meeting. We were awaiting a update from Terry Vachon, which will occur October 12th. I want to make another proclamation. The New Lowell Knights are the North Dufferin Baseball League champions once again.
North Dufferin?
They
Fantastic.
defeated Bolton 4-2 in the finals. This is the second year in a row that they've won the championship. And in the last 5 years, they've won it 3 times. And one of those years, the trophy was not presented. So they won it really 3 out of 4 times. The last 10 years, they've won it 5 times. So congratulations to the New Lowell Knights. And also, I wanted to talk about how our community is saddened by the news of losing a Clearview resident, Katie Marshall. I knew her as Katie Hubbard, who grew up in New Lowell. She died in the accident on 3-4 in Concession 9, September 23rd. The community is hurting and is in pain. Katie was a beautiful young woman, energetic, happy, and enthusiastic. She loved horses and barrel racing. The Ontario Barrel Racing Association has a tribute to her on their Facebook page, and they're starting up a fundraiser to help the family. They said Katie was a light who brightened the way for everyone. I urge everyone to check out the Facebook page and help if you can. I did that without kind.
Thank you very much, Marty. Thank you so much. Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Your Worship. First of all, we'll start with Accessibility Advisory Committee met on September the 12th. And the full committee, as well as Baz and Dan, to clarify some questions that we might have. Our meeting was to review the accessibility of patios. So the committee had gone on a tour to look at the patios, and not then, earlier on, a couple of months before, and met and had recommendations, and those recommendations have since been passed on to Dan to go with his report when he brings that forward. I'm not sure just when, but when he brings that report forward. On the 15th, attended the Frenier's opening of the new edition. On the 16th, the library tour. That tour was basically to look at the positives, the negatives, and potential budget implications over the next 2 or 3 years of things that might have to be looked at and put in place. On the 18th, on Monday, we met here with the Accessibility Rental Committee, and we looked at potential draft and sent back to look at other potential drafts. So we'll see where that goes the next time. On the 19th, we had a library board meeting in Stainer. And from that meeting, I went to the youth center open house for a while. And from that, I went to the Blue Mountain Manor open house. And maybe looking at booking a room, I don't know the way my body works. It might have to be sooner than later. Also, on the 20th, I went to the food bank AGM meeting, and the numbers are very frightening. The concerns are very tough. When you have people living in cars, they can't benefit from the food bank because they have nowhere to cook their food. So we certainly need to work on, or try and accomplish anyways, some type of system where we can help these people out. And it's not just our shoulders, it's throughout. It's a major issue. They're serving about 70 clients a month. They have 100 registered. And so, yeah, there are issues with not only food, but there's rent monies. So there's gas money. There's all kinds of things. And I give that committee, commend that committee for the work they're doing. They're really working hard to try and meet the needs of those that they can help. And then I guess that's it, Your Worship. It is. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Robert. And I hope that I wish I'd known about the food bank AGM. I certainly would have gone there to commend the work that the volunteers do there. So thank you so much for that. Paul wants to say something here. Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Walker, just further to your report, I had a chance to quickly chat with Lorna May from who's been very heavily involved, obviously, with the food bank in Creemore. And she mentioned to me that even in the last week, they've had to take on 6 new families in Creemore. And that's just in 1 week. So I think it's something within our community we're going to be well aware of or have to deal with going forward. Thank you.
I agree. All right. I'll give you guys a quick update too. Absolutely my pleasure to join you and members of council and everyone here who was at the Lafreniere's grand reopening of their expansion. What a terrific example of a business that invests in our community, brings new jobs to our community, and continues to survive and support organizations in our community. And I know they support the food bank as well, speaking of that. So very, very pleased to be there and join that family and that celebration. Also, I want to mention I did attend the youth center barbecue along with other members that were here. The one thing that I took away from that, if you don't mind me saying, is that I noticed a few parents showed up, and I thought that was really awesome to see some of those youth bring their parents and show them around, and got them to introduce them to other kids and some of the supervisors who work there. So I thought that was a really good thing, and I'm very proud of the work that they're doing there. I want to mention to council that I did have the opportunity a couple Saturdays ago to go to the new farm and met with Brent and Jillian and had a tour along with other members of, members of many nonprofit organizations. They asked if I would attend, and I happily did, and met an awful lot of very interesting people who are involved in nonprofits across Ontario. And we toured the farm and had a really good talk about the future of farming and the sustainability of farming. And Brent and Jillian have some ideals about what they want to do with that property as far as the future of farming on that particular site. I know they're in an application right now, which has nothing to do with this, but I thought it was really interesting to hear some real talk about sustainability in agriculture and farming. So that was a very interesting tour. I do want to mention that at the Great Northern Exhibition on Friday, of course, is always the opening ceremonies for the GNE. The volunteers do a fantastic job, as we've heard some of the members are right here, but they had a great crew of people who have put together a terrific event. The opening ceremonies on Friday night, the stage was filled with dignitaries, as you said. MP Dowdle was there, MPP Saunderson was there, Mayor Hamlin from Collingwood, the Deputy Mayor Snell from Wasaga Beach was there. I want to mention that a past mayor of our beautiful township, the first mayor of Clearview Township, Carol Curry, she was there. It was an absolute honor to see her and to have her speak. And part of that speech that was delivered by Miss Curry was to acknowledge and induct Mike Curry as a lifetime member of the Great Northern Exhibition and the GNE and the Society. Mike has over 55 years of volunteer experience, 55 years of doing the GNE and volunteering. So they inducted him as a life member. And so it's pretty significant. Mike's just a great fellow, good ball of energy, and really understands Clearview Township. And we're really happy to have him in our community. And the last thing that I want to mention about the GNE is that this year for 2023, we have two amazing ambassadors. Jocelyn and Briar have become the senior and junior ambassador, and they are really terrific. They both delivered great speeches that I had the opportunity to hear, and really engaging young ladies who want to speak about the GNE and about our community. And so I look forward to seeing them at many events throughout the year. And if you have any events that happen in your quarters and your wards, you might want to consider inviting them, because they're pretty great people to have representing us here in Clearview Township. So I was quite pleased with that. So that's all I'm going to mention at this time. Yes, go ahead, Paul.
I just want to add two things, what you just said. First of all, it was a great announcer for the demolition or for the truck pull. And if for
Who's
those,
that?
a certain gentleman by the name of Chris Ferguson and
Yes.
a compatriot named Doug Measures, and they were very entertaining for those who didn't hear it. I only heard a little bit of it, but they were excellent at presenting. And just to add to the two girls who are the ambassadors, one is Tim Young's daughter and one
Yes.
is Kevin Miller's daughter, both residents of Clearview. So it's congratulations to them.
Indeed. And your daughter did a fine job last year. She did an excellent job. Good for her. Okay, guys, that's it for our ward reports. So we're going to move on in the agenda. We only have a few items here to cover now. First one is bylaw enforcement. I know our bylaw officer has been sitting here patiently waiting to hear us announce this. Maybe we could call a recess and delay it any more for him. What do you say? No? Okay, let's move on. Recommendation, be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive report BL 004 2023, the property standards update dated September 25th, 2023 for information. Can I have a mover and seconder? Mr. Broderick, seconded by Ms. Deneen. Thank you. And Joe, it's nice to have you join us. Mr. Paddock, can you please give us an update on anything you want to add to your report?
I'll just give a quick overview. We issued 44 property standards orders this year between May and September. It was extremely busy. We were trying to make up for some lost time during COVID. We took down, between the township and owners of some of these properties, we issued orders to 12 buildings have been removed that were derelict and dangerous. We started a new process this year where we issued orders to properties where historically have been in violation regarding long grass and weeds. We sent one letter allowing them the opportunity to hire their own company, which out of the 17 letters that we did send, 14 of those properties hired their own contractors and maintained their own properties, which was a big save of time. Yeah, I'm here to answer any other questions that you guys may have.
All right. Thank you very much, Joel. Members of council, do you have any questions to the bylaw department or the clerk? Yes, no? All right. I'll ask one quick question. Joe, can you advise the procedure for persons making complaints about property standards and or weeds growing? Just so the public are understanding is that how this works.
It can be in person in the office, by email, or we have an online complaint form.
So the online complaint form is available on our website?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. All right. If there's nothing further, Madam Clerk, you have nothing else you want to add to that? Okay. All right, council, you've heard the motion. You've got a mover and seconder. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you so much. All right. We're going to move on to, we have lots of time to talk about this, guys. We have a financial report regarding our 2024-2028 budget pressures. And so I'll read the recommendation with the mover and seconder. We'll put it on the floor and then we'll have a good talk. Recommendation be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive report FIN 014-2023, the 2024-2028 budget pressures dated September 25, 23, and item 1, that council members provide their 2024 budget wish list items to the treasurer by Monday, October the 16th, 2023, for inclusion in the budget workshop sessions for discussion. I'll take a mover and seconder on this. Where we got MacArthur and Broderick. Thank you so much. Madam Treasurer, how are you, Kelly?
Living the dream, your worship, living the dream.
Living the dream. Okay. Would you like to speak to your report, please?
No. I wanted to give council and yourself an update on current pressures. I know everybody's heard about them, but this is a report sort of gathering them all together. Senior managers have been working with these premises since beginning of July and August when we started sort of the initial formalization. So this is council's chance to take a look at what we're facing and give us a little direction on what they'd like to see in the upcoming budget.
Okay. Is there any questions to the clerk from our members of council? Yes, please go right ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just quick question. Are you looking for us to prioritize projects that we need to do, or not need to do? Or are you looking for potential wants for future projects?
Through your worship to Deputy Mayor Van Stouwen. It's a little bit of both. It's more for, excuse me, more for senior management to get an idea of the direction council wants. So if you're looking for, excuse me, if you're looking for main projects that are growth related, it gives senior managers an idea of, okay, that's the path that you want us to take. What are the projects we need to prioritize? I know in the past we've had smaller projects put on the list. With those, I'd rather those go directly to the department heads because normally those can be covered off in our operational budgets. So this is more of a guidance and direction for senior managers as far as what you want to see in the budget. If you have a specific item that you want to see in 2024 or 2025, by all means, please add it in. We'll do our best to get as accurate estimates as we can for the budget presentations.
Can you throw us a dollar amount what you would consider for that could be run through operational expenses?
I would say anything over $25,000 for the most part. It's likely something that is planned in operations and that can be sort of shuffled around anyways. But yeah, that's the main goal, is to get sort of the larger picture items that you're looking for.
Thank you.
Okay. Any members of council with anything further? All right. I think that's a good question that Paul just asked in regards to the value, $25,000. If it's a small capital project or a purchase or a procedural thing that, you know, in that value, that's a fair thing to bring forward. Are you as staff looking for, you know, a greater direction from are you looking for us to tell you to set the budget level at this level and no higher? Is that what you're asking for? I find this procedure a little odd. Just I'm going to give some commentary here first, if you might, that I really enjoy our budget process where we hear from all the departments and then council has an opportunity to bring up some of their ideas. And then we can see where projects are moving all together. At this time, council does not have that information. We don't know what senior managers are working on. So I find it difficult. But if you want us to give you sort of the higher level recommendation, we can say X% and don't go above. Is that what you're looking for?
Through to you, to worship. Absolutely. If that's something that you want to see, if you would, as council, would like to set a maximum percentage that you're looking at as a budget increase, that would be more than welcome. I know in the past we've done this more at the either before the public receives council's prepared budget. And I had gotten the feeling that some councillors felt rushed at that point where they weren't getting as much input as they'd prefer into the budget.
Okay.
So that's why I'm bringing this report forward now, so that staff can look at items that are maybe top on a particular councillor's agenda. If it's something we can bring into the budget package, it gives council more time to think about it and more time to prioritize township-wide the projects that they think need to go forward.
Okay. All right. It helps me out with the comments that I'll be providing then. That's great. Mr. CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. And the other thing, you'll unpack this as time goes on. I think in her letter, she says she'd like to hear back on the 16th of October. We'll have the workshop, but it helps finance with a base budget. So for example, there could be matters that would form part of the base budget on an ongoing basis. So an example would be of a staff person, for example, if they were hired, that would form part of the base budget. There could be specialized projects that are just one-offs that may not form the base budget, but we may find another mechanism to fund those. And sometimes that helps with the preparation of the budget as well. But ultimately, it's like to think about what you've gone through as council, what you've heard from the community. Are there anything coming up that you think we should focus on? And there's no bad ideas here. At the end of the day, you may fund it or you may not. That's really it's council's final decision, but at least it can get it on the table. And it is different from last year because we did this later on last year. And this is up first this time to give you time to think. Is it a hard date, October 16th, if they wanted to extend it a little bit further? It helps Kelly prepare. That's the financial piece of this. But ultimately, I think it's an opportunity to take this back and think about it.
All right. Well, I'm not worried about the date, but I appreciate that deadlines are a part of how we do business. So let's just work with that, council. And Mr. CAO, you're right. I mean, we do need to create a base budget. There are many things that we do right now that are part of base budget. You know, I mean, we have to buy fuel and we have to buy insurance and, you know, we have the things that we must do, but we have to be respectful of those variances and those costs. You know, we have had seasons when we buy gravel, when we get gravel at a great price, and then other seasons it gets really high, or asphalt the other way, or, you know, anything when we buy something. But when a base budget as far as operating the corporation, you know, with the number of staff persons, with the various responsibilities and the distribution of responsibility, you know, we have to assess that. So, okay. All right. Well, okay. Go ahead, Paul.
Sorry, just one question, Kelly, in your report, and most of the councillors have seen documents from Impact that we understand that the province is still freezing assessments from 2016. What effect is that going to have on our budget this coming year? We were all hoping that the reassessment for the area was going to happen, but obviously it won't. Can you speak to that a bit, please?
Yes, through your worship to Deputy Van Staven. It doesn't necessarily impact the budget itself. So the way we do the budgeting is we need a certain amount of money and it's divided through the assessment that we have. If the assessment goes up, we still only need a certain amount of money. So in effect, what would happen is the tax rate would actually go down, but the amount of money we're collecting is higher. Where it affects us is if one particular property is reassessed disproportionate to the other ones, other like properties, they would be paying a larger part of that tax bill. But overall, it really doesn't affect the budget. It's more of an aesthetics, I guess. We're more hit with the new properties coming on the roll from growth than anything else, because rather than coming on the roll at their 2022 current value assessment, they're actually coming on the roll at 2016's current value assessment. And as you can imagine, there's quite a difference there.
Okay. Nothing further from members? Any other questions? I will just put it on the floor that during our budget process, after we hear from all of our senior managers and we get a final report from you, council will have, of course, the opportunity to make any changes up until we pass the omnibus bill, which directs at the end of the budget process. So the process is that we will meet, we will discuss, we will amend, we will toss things out, put things in, as we always do. And then there'll be a motion to send it to the treasury to create the tax bylaw, correct? Then that several months go by as you prepare all the fine details, and then you prepare us a final report, which generally comes somewhere around March. Is that correct?
Correct. The final package will come around March and then usually the
April.
tax bylaw is May.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Just so it's on the floor so people understand. All right. Council, nothing further. Thank you very much, Kelly, to you and your staff. I'm sure we can put in there, we can add more staff to the Treasury Department, right? Is that what we need? Fair enough. Council, you've got a motion in front of you. I believe we have a mover and seconder. So if there's nothing further, I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? And that carries unanimous. Thank you so much. All right, council, we've finished with administration. And we're now going to go to our bylaw to confirm the proceedings of our council meeting. Recommendation be it resolved. Bylaw number 2387, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the September 25th, 2023 council meeting, be presented, read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed on the 25th day of September 2023. Mr. Deputy Mayor, Ms. Deneen, thank you. Any questions? All in favor? And the bylaw carries unanimous. Thank you very much. We have a motion to adjourn. Before we adjourn, I would just like to acknowledge that Sasha is going to not be available for the next week or so. She's going to be away on a very special occasion. The Township Clerk's Department will be faithfully in the hands of Krista Pascoe. And I'm quite confident that she has the support of every member of our staff to execute the office while Sasha takes his well-deserved vacation that has been long coming.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes, I'm getting married.
Atta girl. Congratulations. All right. Do we get a new nameplate for you next time? I don't know. We'll ask that later. We'll deal with that next time. All right. Council, the motion to adjourn, recommendation be it resolved that council will be adjourned at, Madam Clerk, time
7:14.
7:14. And I can ask for Mr. Beelan and Mr. MacArthur. Thank you, sir. All those in favor? Very well. This meeting is adjourned. Enjoy the rest of the week. It looks like the weather's going to be spectacular. Have a great day on Friday, kiddo.